We're home from Chicago. You're still a bit tall, but like whatever. I don't feel like adjusting the camera again. So I'll just be short. Hello, welcome. I have to just like actually open YouTube Studio so I can see your comments.
Goodness me.
It's been a very long week.
It has been.
It's been a very long week. But we're going to talk about Chicago. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome. It was so lovely to talk to you in Chicago.
Oh, Atlas Jennifer?
Jennifer Barrow.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people.
You did meet a lot of people. I met
In
a lot
Chicago.
of people. It was a good trip. And we said we'd do a recap, and then people submitted Q&A questions. But if you've got more questions, leave them in the chat and we'll address it. I'm having to think really hard about spelling anything, which tells you just how tired I am. So, when did we leave for Chicago?
A week ago Wednesday.
Yeah.
Dark and early.
Dark and early.
We both woke up before our alarms at 4:15 in the morning, and we were on the road half an hour later.
Yeah. It was quite impressive.
Yeah.
We were packed. We were ready to go. And we were in Chicago by 1:30 in the afternoon.
And that was with 2 stops.
That was with 2 stops.
We stopped for lunch, and we stopped for second breakfast at Culver's because, frozen custard.
Yeah, and it was like 10 a.m. and we'd already been up for 5 hours. So why not eat ice cream at 10 a.m.? And then we had a meeting with a couple of people on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Went to Trader Joe's, which was fantastic.
I'd never been.
It was so much fun.
There was much shopping.
There was much shopping. Much
Epic snacks.
Epic snacks were purchased, which also kept me going through the weekend.
Yeah.
And then we went to Cheesecake Factory with Lexi and Shannon. And
Yes.
that was sort of a lovely low-key dinner to start the weekend.
Well, and I'd never been. My experience with Cheesecake Factory was 100% from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
So.
Same. And then Thursday rolls around. Thursday was busy.
Thursday was setup day.
Thursday was setup day, but it's also Trader's Day and Weekend Pass Holder Day. And Tino happened to be behind the Atlas booth, which meant we were busy.
Yes. And well, I wasn't really there to work.
No.
I wound up merchandising inks, the ink corner for about 4 hours.
Yeah, I put tables up on risers and organized pens and stationery. And bought some stuff.
But it was super busy.
I think I bought all my vintage day one.
I only bought one vintage. I got a Parker 45.
Yes, I bought a couple Parker 45s, mostly for parts.
You bought yours for parts. I bought mine. I haven't even tested it yet, but I'm hoping it has a similar writing experience to your Parker Black Tassie.
Yeah.
Which I just think is the most delightful writing experience. Yeah. So I haven't tried it. I'm not even sure where it is. I think it's
on the kitchen table. It's on the games room table.
Well, there you go. Let's see what else. Then Friday was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thursday we went to dinner with people again.
Yeah.
And then. Then we went to the hotel bar and we met up with everyone because everyone's flights had started to come in. And so Julia was there and Tori was there and Karina from Karina Loves to Plan was there.
So I was meeting a lot of people for the first time. I'd seen them on your channel on 20 Questions or on Desk Chatter as guests. But I was finally meeting people for the first time in person.
For lots of them, I was meeting them in person for the first time.
Oh, okay.
like Tori, I know.
I had met Tori and Aziza
and Shannon.
Yeah. In person, but that was about it. Other than a couple of people at the sidewalk sale.
Yeah.
But those are vendors, not I don't know, influencers.
Whatever you want to refer to us as. Yeah, no. Because like when Bryce and Mark and everyone showed up, they were very happy to see you.
Yeah, but I had met them at the sidewalk sale.
And they're all vendors.
Yeah.
They're all brand owners and brand reps. So we hung up for a little bit with people. But then...
Well, and that was also my first chance to see some of the pens in people's private collections. I was treating it more like the Pelican Hub, where people are very generous about bringing out their pens and letting you see their custom pieces. And that came true. I saw some really incredible pens that I photographed on Thursday night. I haven't posted anything. I'm really slow to get stuff up on Instagram.
I haven't, to be fair, I had more than one person DM me over the course of the weekend and go, "Are you in Chicago for the pen show?" And that's how I knew I was doing a really shit job of doing social media about the pen show. But when people were questioning if I was actually attending the pen show.
But it was just so busy. Like it was nonstop. Alarms were going, your alarm would go off at 6.
And I was working 18-hour days.
And you were doing 18-hour days. I had to call time on one of the days when you were still photographing at midnight and the alarm was going off at 6.
Yeah.
That was
Friday night.
That was Friday night.
So Friday rolls around. It's the first full day. It's the first day that non-weekend pass holders are allowed in at noon.
Yep. So people who are coming in on day passes.
And I would say Friday this year was not as busy Friday as last year. And I don't have the ticket numbers to back that up, but Friday last year, there was a line at noon of people wanting day passes.
But it was steady.
It was steady, but there was never the big line that existed last year to buy day passes. And right off the bat, we walked in at 8. Luke was still setting. Luke had actually just put up his floral display, and we got there, and had he even pulled anything out when I started talking to him, or did he not pull anything out until Subak came over? Like Luke and I were talking about something, and then Sue came over to buy something, and suddenly you were buying something.
Well, he had, while you were in conversation, he pulled out, I think it was a roll. It was something. And it was all his nib holders.
Yes.
And I only had 2 things on my list that I wanted to buy. I wanted a nib holder. And I know some of you are going to roll your eyes, but I really wanted a wancher, and I knew exactly which one I wanted. And
you had gotten me to ask Kirk if he was bringing the wancher you wanted.
I did. And he brought one. So anyway, Luke pulled out, and I wasn't familiar with Luke's work. I'd heard about him by your conversations with him and talking about him. For people who don't know Luke, it's Papa J Studio.
Yeah.
And his work is ethereal.
Yes.
It is resin, clear acrylic resin, if that's the right terminology, and flowers. And I saw something, a pen holder, a nib holder, roll away from me. And I was about to reach for it. And Sue Beck reached at the same time and got there first, because she was about 3 people down, and my arms are long, but not that long. And suddenly she was holding on to one of the only nib holder that was calling to me. And it really was calling to me, but I didn't know Sue Beck. At that point, I didn't know her at all enough to snatch something out of her hand. But Alexandra.
To be fair, I didn't snatch it out of her hand.
No, you didn't.
She was sending pictures to a friend, and that friend would never know that this other nib holder existed.
That is true. And Alexandra very sweetly said, "Are you buying both of those?" And Sue said, "Well, yes." And why? And Alexandra said, "Well, my mom really likes one of them." And this is it. I don't know if you can see it, but it is absolutely stunning. I'll have Alexandra take some stills of it and she can put them on her Instagram page or whatever she does. It's just the most beautiful nib holder.
It is.
It broke my budget for nib holders. I wasn't expecting to drop what I did.
But it's very pretty.
It's very pretty, and it comes with its own rickshaw sleeve. So there we go.
And you know, Julia's in the chat, and Luke did a stunning wedding bouquet pen for her with her wedding flowers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Luke does some really cool stuff.
I would like to see photographs of that.
I'm sure she can send me them or send you them.
Okay.
And then we did a lot on Friday.
Yeah, Friday
I worked behind a table. I photographed Heinz pens for 2 hours. I went out to a brand dinner. I then got back to our hotel at 9 o'clock and photographed Heinz pens until midnight when Mom called time because our alarm was going off at 6 a.m.
And you also started doing interviews.
And I started doing interviews.
We did interviews on Friday.
Which one of the questions was, did I film 20 questions at the Chicago Pen Show?
Boy, did she ever.
Yeah. 20 questions revisited, some standalone interviews, one of which has already come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was busy.
It was busy. And it was, I think I had this really skewed idea because it was in a way so hard to get interviews last year. And then we did the sidewalk sale and it was really easy to get interviews, but I filmed them all back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
I did all my sidewalk sale interviews other than Bryce in 4 hours or less.
Yeah.
That is not how this played out.
No.
This was a lot of going to start an interview, being interrupted, going back to the booth, working for an hour,
coming back,
back.
really having to time the interviews with interspersed with people need to sell. They're there to sell.
People
pens.
need to sell. And we also did what we also did Friday was Pen Show After Dark interviews.
That worked well.
We got back from a brand dinner. We did Pen Show After Dark interviews. Then I photographed Heinz pens.
Yeah. And the Pen Show After Dark interviews were
so much fun.
They're a hoot.
They are a hoot. I don't know how I'm going to edit them.
People were pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
So,
one might say that.
I would say that. Yeah. So that was fun.
That was fun. Saturday.
Alarm went off at 6.
Alarm went off at 6.
It was go, go, go.
It was go, go, go. I had a nib appointment at 9.
It was the Estabrook breakfast with...
It was the Estabrook breakfast.
With Coffee Monster Co.
Sadly for Couture Pens, I grabbed a couple pastries that went with me, and I went back upstairs to continue filming.
Yeah.
I did not stay.
Well, and you had your nib appointment.
And I had my nib appointment with Kirk. And then it was go, go, go at the booth. We filmed some stuff. I was supposed to take pens from Heinz that evening. And at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I looked at Francisco and I went, I can't.
No.
I would say, and this is going to come up as one of the questions, Saturday shattered me in a really interesting way.
Just based on fatigue?
I was just so tired. Like there were plans for a big dinner that night, and you and I at about 4 o'clock canceled.
Yeah.
And did something much more chill for dinner.
Yes.
And I think that is what saved me for the next day.
Well, also in the evening, once we came back from our very quiet dinner,
yeah,
I had to turn around and change and go to the ticketed event. That's a single malt Scotch tasting, and that was lovely. That was sold out. It's hosted by Mario
Mario Campa.
Mario Campa, and who's incredibly knowledgeable about Scotch, and more about the cask aging process. Yeah, it was really interesting. But I think it was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah. And I went to the Atlas party for a bit, and then I was really tired. And so I went back upstairs.
You almost sent the St. Bernards out to find me.
Yeah. When it was, 11:30, and
No.
Shannon. Saturday was the night I was like, I'll be right back, and I didn't come back. That tracks. Saturday was the night I went down to the party and maybe lasted 20 minutes before I was like, and I'm going upstairs to bed.
Yeah.
I'm done. And then Sunday, I would say Sunday, I actually felt better because I ditched the party the night before.
Mm-hmm.
That and the fact that Claire Coco placed a Dunkin' Donuts order and just ordered me hash browns. You have a great picture of me sitting on the floor eating hash browns. And then
you got loaded up on carbs before the event
loaded
opened.
up on carbs and caffeine before the event started, which is a great thing because you have never seen people so upset as when the coffee pot is removed at 9:30 in the morning on the 4th day of an event.
That was my only complaint, is that the coffee station closed incredibly early, and that's just wrong.
Yeah. I would say people were really happy every time they discovered that I had brought a container of instant coffee.
Yeah.
That we had the ability to make people cups of coffee in our room.
Yeah.
People were very happy about that fact. We caffeinated a few people.
Yeah, we brought extra coffee, extra tea, and so our room evolved into a little hospitality suite because I also travel with, well, I don't travel. When I get somewhere, I purchase Prosecco.
And we traveled with cookies.
And snacks.
Yeah.
We had the salty snacks from Trader Joe's. I had made cookies that came down with us. And so we actually run quite a delightful hospitality suite by invitation only.
Yeah.
That went over a treat.
I would also say there was quite a good snack station behind the Atlas booth. We had it quite well stocked back there.
Oh, we had cookies back there.
But also, like, Atlas had quite good snacks that we were all diving into.
Oh,
and on
I didn't know they had
you don't eat carbs very much. But on Sunday morning, I was in the elevator going upstairs to grab something, and somebody from a neighboring booth was so upset that the hotel didn't start serving cookies until noon.
Oh, like the warm cookies at reception?
Yeah, warm cookies at reception, which is why I sent you over to them with the bag of chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, okay. The people at the end.
The two guys were in the elevator with me, and he went, they took away our coffee and they won't serve cookies until noon. And I went, come to the Atlas booth. I have a bag of cookies that I'll share.
Oh, yeah, I did the cookie run.
Yeah. Because I would say Sunday was way busier than last year. Sunday last year was quiet. This year on Sunday it was not quiet. And last year on Sunday, booths were pretty much torn down by noon. And I would say like 3 o'clock this year, things were shut down for the most part. So if you had a full weekend ticket, like, you were definitely getting more this year because stuff was set up earlier on Thursday and went way later on Sunday. But it was definitely very exhausting.
And then we did more interviews on Saturday.
On Sunday.
Sunday, rather.
We did more interviews Sunday. I would say we did probably the most interviews in a single day on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, we just hit people early.
And then late. Quite late. Plus, we found a place. I picked out a place just off the hotel lobby where we could set up. I did a little furniture rearranging, and it meant that we could
We had a
do
set.
interviews and with minimal chance of anybody walking between me and my subjects.
Yes. Yep. And then
It worked well.
we were supposed to drive home Sunday, and
I was
Saturday
too
we
tired.
decided we were staying another night.
Yeah, I was way too tired. So we stayed.
We stayed.
That worked well.
It did. I honestly could not have had our room fully packed up.
Well, I don't think I could have done a 9-hour drive
Yeah.
after things. And we didn't leave the floor until probably 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because we were doing interviews.
We were doing interviews and stuff. And then it was raining and we couldn't go across the street for food.
No, but the hotel kitchen opened early for us, which was really,
Yes.
really nice.
Yes. Shannon played we have somebody with a disability and crutches, and it's bucketing card. And they served us food early.
Yeah. So that worked well.
That
We
did.
didn't. And yeah. And the restaurant was packed.
The restaurant was packed. We were all hungry and tired, and no one wanted
to go outside.
All right.
Do we want to do some questions?
Let's do some questions. So it's the Jennifer Barrow who gave the Chicago bag and the journaling cards, and told you how pretty you were.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
People are debating if they're recovered or not.
I don't think I am.
I'm not.
I went down to Toronto midweek. I had an appointment, spent the night, came back. I pooped.
I thought I was
recovered,
and then I wiped out outside because my leg didn't come with me.
Yeah. And you discovered you're not
I'm
recovered.
not. Me body slamming the ground has told me that I am not recovered.
No.
Yeah.
But we're here.
We're here. Shannon said she played the disability card when she was asking for the shuttle, not for the restaurant to open.
Okay. So the shuttle. Okay.
That's a good time to play the disability card as well, to be fair.
Yes.
I accept the disability card being played in both instances.
Yeah.
Bailey said we looked crazy busy at the show. I would agree.
Yeah.
I was.
Technically, I wasn't there to sell, and I sold. I sold Tino's. I sold Sailors.
I would also say that, I did not. There were some days that I did not eat enough during the day.
Well, there was one day in particular where it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we realized neither of us had eaten.
Friday. Sorry, not Friday.
That was Saturday.
Sunday.
It was Sunday. You were eating hash browns on the floor.
No, it was all I'd consumed all day were hash browns on the floor.
Okay.
And
Which
coffee.
Sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible. All I'd consumed were the hash browns and 4 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And Jennifer had just consumed coffee. You had just consumed coffee.
Yeah.
All of us were functioning on. Oh, and I'd had a 4-day-old Tim Hortons sour cream glazed donut.
Yeah.
Which they don't get stale because they're fully encased in sugar. And other things I didn't need to know.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see you there, but this was my first pen show and it was super fun to meet you. So it was, I would say I met a lot of people. Do I remember everyone I met? No. A lot of people were just coming up to me and saying how much what I need is everybody's name tag to have their YouTube handle on them.
Yeah.
Because so many people's YouTube handles are so different from their first names, and I would be really lost. Yeah.
Well, but there's nothing you can do about that.
There's nothing I can do about that.
And some people did say they introduced themselves and then would say what their YouTube handle was.
I've also got the memory of a goldfish.
Yes.
Which doesn't help things. All right. Questions. This is from so these are from either YouTube community tab or from Instagram. I pulled them from both. Hi, Mom. What's the most interesting thing you bought?
Oh, well, okay. I think the most interesting thing I bought is the Papa J Studio nib holder. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there a most fun thing I bought? Is that an option? Because I can.
I don't know. You can show the other thing you bought.
So I got a wancher, and the wancher I wanted was the orange and black one. My teeny tiny pen. I can't tell you the number of children I showed this to.
Children are obsessed.
Children are obsessed with tiny pens that fit in their hands. The other thing is that children get obsessed with is Rickshaw made a tiny sleeve for wanchers.
Yeah.
And so I had both. I had a regular Rickshaw, the Chicago Rickshaw, and this one on my lanyard. And little kids just love the fact that there's a baby Rickshaw for the baby pen. I got lots of currency with this.
Yes, you did. What? This isn't directed to either of us, so
Okay.
we both get to answer it. What was your favorite experience?
Oh. Honestly, it was meeting Claire Coco and Lori Tata in person. I consider them to be two of Alexandra's pen show moms. The third one is Kari of Kari Bullet Journal, but she's actually been to our house a couple of times.
Yes.
And unfortunately, she couldn't make the Chicago Pen Show, but she's Alexandra's third pen show mom. But it was really great to meet Claire and Lori in person.
Yes. I would say there are frequent people that get asked questions about various pen things.
Yeah. What about you? What was your favorite?
I like seeing everyone again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For a lot of people, I haven't seen them since August when we were at the sidewalk sale. And I talk to people pretty often, like Mark and I text a couple times a month, so do Bryce and I. But it's different when you get to see people in person again and are having those sit-down discussions about products that aren't happening via text, which also leads to cool things like getting to film the exclusive on the Margarita pen before it was officially out, where like I had to get Goldspot's permission to do it because it was a Goldspot exclusive.
Right.
Like there were all these things in play to make that video happen. But at the end of the day, like I got to film something really cool with one of my friends. And I also got to see a bunch of my friends in person. And I think like YouTube can be so isolating. I do live in such a bubble.
Right.
That I just utterly adored like 4.5 days where we were going down to breakfast every morning and I was in the same room as my friends.
Yeah. Seeing people all the time.
All the time. Sometimes too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like, I need a little break from people.
Yeah. Well, that's what going upstairs.
That was what going upstairs. No, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Most unexpected find that you love. I have mine, actually.
What's yours?
Mine is something that I pre-ordered before the show. I forgot to write down what brand. Oh, it's in here, actually.
Hold on.
Can you hold it so that it doesn't fall over?
Yep. Oh, I have one, but it's upstairs. Can I bamf upstairs and get it?
Sure, take your mic.
I think it's on the table.
If you take your mic off, you can.
Okay.
Or if you can leave your mic on, but everyone will hear anything you say on the way upstairs.
Oh, that could be fun. I'll take it off.
All right. This is a Shibui 8-vial case that I bought from Goldspot. I actually have 2 of them. And these are sample vial cases, which are meant for ink samples. I am using them for nibs. And these were absolutely fantastic. They're currently 50% off at Goldspot. They're on clearance because the company's gone out of business. I don't know what colors they have left, but these were fantastic because it meant that if all of a sudden a nib grinder had an appointment available, I had sample vials on me in my standard sizes. So these are all Yovos. These are all What is the name of them? There you go. That's what it's called. One's Yovo and one's odd size nibs, which meant when people had random nib appointments available, I had spare nibs on me. And that was fantastic.
I'm back.
You're back.
Got
it. Good. All right. What's your
unexpected
find that you love?
I have a Heinz pen.
You do have a Heinz pen.
In blue and gold and white.
And it's a Heinz piston pen.
With a little ink window.
Yeah.
I think it has a medium nib.
No, it's got a stub.
Oh, you put a stub on it for me?
You asked for a stub.
I forgot, Alexandra. I was exhausted.
That's fair. No, the issue
Thank you for watching out for me and making sure I got a stub nib.
The issue is they didn't have a stub in matching trim, so it doesn't match your pen.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's what I told Francisco, that you didn't actually care.
I'm not that precious.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love it. Because it reminds me, it just stood out to me. It reminds me of a Van Gogh painting. Van Gogh did lots of paintings of wheat fields and blue skies. And it just snagged me. Yes. So that's my unexpected purchase.
I would say this was not an unexpected purchase. I also knew it was coming. This is the Galen Leather Expansive Folio. It arrived just before we left for Chicago. So
it's fantastic.
In Chicago. Yes. Oh my God, I love it. I'm obsessed. It is significantly thicker than the original ones, but it's so great. It can hold, I think I've got 7 pens in it right now.
And isn't it an A5 pad?
It is an A5 pad. And Midori makes a great MD paper A5 pad, which is what I've currently got in it. I use this all weekend. This was my go-to pen case and
notes
and sort of all around, because I've just got tear off sheet paper in it. And
so checklists, interview checklists,
testing pens. This basically went everywhere with me.
Yeah.
It was a pen case, a briefcase, everything all in one. Number 4, tips on keeping your energy up and how to deal with so many people when you aren't used to it. So I think you and I both have the same answer for this.
I don't know that we do.
I don't know that we do. I got to take lots of little micro breaks because I went to the bathroom at one point on the main floor where there were the public bathrooms. And as I was heading into the bathroom, somebody came out of the bathroom and stopped me and told me how much they loved my content and loved my videos and was I filming more episodes of the show, and that made me really uncomfortable. I was totally fine with it in every other situation, but
not in the
bathroom. Heading into the bathroom, sitting in the bathroom door and having that conversation with somebody made me really deeply uncomfortable. And so
luckily our room was on the 4th floor.
Yeah. So every time I needed to pee, I took the elevator upstairs, which meant I was getting a 5-minute people break.
Yeah.
And also meant like I was going, when I went upstairs to pee, after I went pee, I'd like grab a handful of snacks and eat them in the elevator going back downstairs. And I think that helped. Like I was...
Well, it just got you away from the floor.
It got me away from the floor. But that incident happened very early in the day on Friday. And from that point on, I was done. I could handle it. I could handle it behind the show table. I could handle people handing you their business cards and telling you how much they loved the show. I could not handle it in the women's bathroom.
I do corporate events, and so they're nothing like a pen show, but they are full day, very busy. I do the logistics and get the catering organized and basically function as a host.
Yeah.
And so this was just 4 corporate event days in a row. Boom, 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 boom. And very tiring, but it's almost the same schedule. There's not a big difference, but it's just 4 in a row.
Yeah, I would
which made it long. Yeah. But staying in the show hotel, I think is the only way I could do it.
Yes.
So that you could go up. You could take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, and go up to the room and just have a little break. That was important, and I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
Yeah.
Really.
What was it like to rep a new pen brand?
That was interesting because it is a very different looking pen. It does not look like the Colotino does not look like any other pen on the market. It is beautifully designed, beautifully engineered. They have executed it perfectly. And so what a pen show is amazing for is allowing people to get their hands on it. And that was really important. And people were excited to try it.
Yes.
Fountain pen and ballpoint, excited about both.
Yeah. I would say a lot of people tried to
twist. Everybody twists.
Everybody twists. I got really good about taking apart the ballpoint pen mechanism because people kept going, how does it come apart? And I could basically do it without looking at it.
Yeah.
At some point I need one of the ballpoints. They're super cool. And then the other thing was some people have seen them because they've been in Top Drawers for a little bit, and Top Drawer was at Chicago Stationery Fest. And then Little Craft Fest was the week before the Chicago Pen Show. And Dromgoals had them at
Little Craft
Fest. And so some people had already had them in their hand. And so this was the second or third time they were having them in their hand, and just had a couple questions, just wanted to be able to play with ones that were inked up. And that was really fun because all of them were inked. We had them inked in every color. We had every color available. And we also had the pen cases available, which was nice.
Yeah. People were enthusiastic.
They were. Number 6, what was the funniest interaction both of you had at the show?
I was walking through the double doors so the main room is their largest ballroom. It is an absolutely beautiful space. Yes. I was literally, it was fairly crowded. I was about to go through the door and a gentleman stopped me and said, "Oh my God, are you Alexandra's mom?" And I said, yes, I am.
I think it was the person that didn't want to meet me. They wanted to meet you.
To be fair, my 20 questions had come out. The live version was on the Monday, and you edited it and put it up into the regular stream of 20 questions videos on Tuesday.
Yes.
And so it was pretty fresh in people's minds.
Yes.
And so and you also got Alexandra, I love your show. Is your mom here?
Yes, I did. I got that a couple times.
And you introduced me to a table full of young women in the bar who all wanted to meet me.
Yes.
It was pretty sweet.
All of my friends wanted to meet you at the bar.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I was behind the Colotino booth with Atlas, and somebody came up and said, "I love your channel. I want to meet your mom though." Apparently Bailey met us at the bar.
Bailey, I need to see your picture. It's so hard.
There were so many people.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm reading this screen. I can't read it. Anyway.
Wait, not when I was warming your nose, Shannon.
I was so cold. So Thursday, where
so
the room
hot.
was quite empty, the ballroom was very warm. Like everybody's running around,
Yeah.
everybody's getting set up,
Pictures
and
of-
we were all warm.
Pictures of me
By
from Thursday.
by
I'm so red.
Sunday, I actually went upstairs and got my Lululemon coat, and I was wearing my outfit, and then I had my coat on, and I was still so cold that Co-Chair Pens was sitting down having a break, and I had my hands on her face because she's like an oven. I was freezing.
Mhm.
It took me days to warm up. What else? Another question?
Number 7. Has any independent maker come up with an innovation you've not seen before?
I'd never seen flowers in the acrylic. That was all new to me.
Yeah. I'd say that's something pretty unique
Which
to
is
Luke.
Pretty amazing.
I would say it's not something that I've never seen before, but it is something really cool. So I managed to get my hands on a White Bear pen from Michaela, which we'd been talking about for a while.
Mm-hmm. She has beautiful
She has
work.
beautiful work. This is in Luke's Pink Pony Club blank. But if you look, the clip is, there is no wiggle room. So what she did was she basically created a mount for this clip in the pen where it does not move at all, so that I can use it to get the cap off without risking shattering the pen, which can sometimes happen with acrylic pens.
Okay.
And I would say I like the innovation that happens with my friends that are makers. When I do go, I would really like one of your pens, and then we sort of have to figure out how to make it work.
Who's the person with the octopus?
Rob.
Finial. Rob.
Rob and I did the same thing. Michaela and I have just done the same thing, which then allows me to have these really cool handmade pens in my collection.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of collaboration that helps you work around the nerve damage.
Yeah.
Is really fantastic.
Shannon was warming Mom's nose.
Yeah.
Bailey. I was still selling shit.
My nose. I was an icicle.
But it's super pretty. It's in Luke's Pink Pony Club blank. It's just super fun. Number 8. How was it crossing the border? We had no issues.
No issues at all. Now we have Nexus cards. We've had them for a very, very long time. My son's is practically a baby picture. But I will add that because of the other work that I do, not related to the corporate events, I actually left my main phone at home and my laptop at home, and I took technically a burner phone. It was an iPhone 11.
Yeah.
But stripped down. So that and then I bought an eSIM while I was in the States, but we didn't have any problems at all crossing the border.
I didn't.
And no problems at all.
No. And I didn't, again, because of the work, I didn't travel with my laptop.
Yeah.
I traveled with an old MacBook that was totally stripped down, and I traveled with an old iPad that was totally stripped down. So none other than my phone, none of the tech I was traveling with.
But really, they looked at our Nexus cards. He wanted the border services gentleman wanted to know where we were traveling to. He was completely boggled at the idea of a pen show. So I said it was like the Detroit Auto Show, only less expensive. And he really didn't understand. He was like, pens. And I said, yes, fountain pens. And I was going to reach for the bag and show him one, but I didn't. Anyway, he was bemused and waved us through.
With some of the vintage stuff that got sold this week on some of the Vintage Mom blogs,
yeah,
I'm not sure how much less expensive it was than cars.
It really isn't.
No.
Well, some of them.
Some of them. What was in your show swag bag? Because I didn't get one. You got one. I brought down all the bits I could find.
Thank you for doing that, because guess what? Look at the swag bag. There was a bottle of ink.
So she got Andurilium donated bottles of ink, and the color you got was random.
Okay, so I got a random bottle of ink that Alexandra will swatch at some point.
At some point. That's a big at some point.
We got these. I think this is a pen sleeve from Siarushi Studio. Oh, it's very nice. It's a little drawstring pen bag.
You got a Chicago Pen Show pin.
I got a Chicago Pen Show pin that is on my lanyard. Oh, I got a glass from the Scotch tasting.
Yes.
I got a little book for writing and for testing pens, and I got 3 field notes, package of field notes. And everything came in a pink Chicago Pen Show shopping bag.
Yep.
Which is upstairs and full of Trader Joe's snacks.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. I think that was it
too. I didn't actually write it down when you opened it for whatever reason, so.
Oh, because we were grabbing going.
Yeah, we were grabbing going.
It was busy.
And
then you bought the show ink.
I did. I bought the Chicago Pen Show ink. I specifically bought the Colorverse one. There were 3 this year. The official show ink was by Colorverse. Andurilium did one that was a green, and then Papier Le Plume did one that was a like tealy color. Lori says hi, by the way.
Hi, Lori.
It was lovely to spend time with you in Chicago as well.
Yeah.
But I bought the official Chicago Pen Show one purely because I'm not a huge fan of greens.
So what color is the official ink?
It's a blue that sheens pink.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Well, I already have a bottle, so
Yeah.
didn't need
What
to buy
I
another
love,
bottle.
if anybody had been selling Chicago 2024 show ink,
Yeah.
I would have bought it in a heartbeat. It's this really, really, really deep blue-black.
Yes.
That is definitely blue. It's fantastic.
Yes. You like last year's Andurilium ink.
Yeah.
Number 10, can you show us your and Mom's show haul? So
Not really.
Not really. I am very lucky to be in the position I'm in with brands, which means that at an event like this, sometimes things will be handed over to me for videos down the line. And also, this is the first time I've seen brands in person since August.
Yeah.
Which meant people had things for me. And our table is currently covered in numbered sticky notes. Yeah.
The content has, you've basically broken out what was provided based on the timeline of the next 6 months for when videos can come out. So we've literally...
I've timelined 6 months.
Yeah. There's a show board, but it's on a dining room table.
There's a show board, but it's on a dining room table. So there were things that I bought that were... and it's also this really weird balancing act of trying to make sure that I don't have a bunch of sponsored content back to back.
Yeah.
And so you and I laid everything out and then went through and figured out what I bought, what is sponsored, what is gifted.
Yeah.
Because there are differences.
Yeah.
And so everything is now set up, and theoretically you'll see the first video in that series on Wednesday next week.
Okay. I know what that is.
Yeah. And then 20 questions.
They're really pretty.
They are really pretty. 20 question stuff starts Monday. But then there were like odd things I purchased that were like vintage Schaefer pencil lead for Grandpa's mechanical pencil from Schaefer. Or the thing that will genuinely make a massive impact for videos for the next year, which is the fact that Carol Gillette found me 5 notebooks of endless regalia paper on Sunday morning. Like
digging through boxes
to find me paper, because I can't find it in Canada currently. Like those things make a massive difference. I will also say this was one of my best purchases of the show for some of the work I was doing. I forgot my Esterbrook pen cleaning cloth at home. And so I bought one of them for like $5 from the Esterbrook booth. And
It's inky.
It's already inky. If you saw pictures of me at the show, it was probably attached to my lanyard. They're great. I've got another one back there behind Mom. And it will be going back onto one of my show bags because it is by far one of the most useful, like, little add-ons that just makes a big difference at a pen show.
Yeah.
Especially when you're at a table that has a whole bunch of testers out. And also inks. Inks make it really hard to show because I had mentioned on the Atlas server you couldn't get Birmingham Pen Company inks easily in Canada. You can get them through Penablers, but that's about it. And so then suddenly people were showing up and just handing me sample baggies of ink.
There are a lot of ink samples.
There are so many inks
that are all Birmingham Pen Company.
I think
people were very generous with the Birmingham pen samples.
I think in all my
Birmingham ink
there
samples.
are like maybe 9 inks that I got in samples that weren't Birmingham Pen Company.
Yeah. Oh, you've got them all listed.
I've got them all listed, minus the 2 I can't read the labels of from the bag that leaked.
Yeah.
But I think there's like
easily 80% of her inks are all Birmingham Pen Company. So you look forward to that.
And none of those are all samples.
Are any of them doubles?
The only one that's a double is Tesla Coil, which is the crazy blue that sheens fluorescent pink.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen samples of it. Which
I now have enough of it, like I can genuinely use it inked up in pens a couple times.
Oh, cool.
So that's great. Did you make any 20 questions videos on the show?
Boy, did she ever. Lots.
There's a whole new series coming at you as well. That'll start Monday. But yeah, no, there were so lots.
You're doing a series that's specifically 20 questions at the Chicago Pen Show.
There's always a season that's specifically 20 questions on an event. But then there's a new thing coming.
Yes.
On Monday. That'll start.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know what it is.
You do know what it is.
Okay.
That's why I was filming with Gary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what it is. So, that'll start Monday.
Right.
And then it was interesting. I'm just going to say, like, it was interesting to get to film with everyone again. It was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time. Jacqueline from Pilot wants to know why Bill's the best.
Why indeed? Why is Bill the best?
I would say because I've been trying to get Bill on the show for a year now.
Yeah.
And we
saw him at the sidewalk sale.
And Bill said, I'll do it. And I sent Bill an email and Bill never responded. And I went, whatever, I'll see him in Chicago. I'll live.
And Bill saw you. And what did Bill say as soon as he saw you?
Bill might have sworn.
And then he did the interview.
He did.
Yeah.
But
it was interesting because Bill from Pilot did 20 questions. And everybody else from Chicago
did the new thing.
Did the new interviews.
Yes.
So Bill, it's like Bill's a year behind.
Bill is a year behind. It was also interesting how many makers I got to sit down with this time.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Brooks was the only maker in season 1, in that first Chicago season.
And it's amazing how many makers credit Jonathan Brooks as being their guru.
Yes.
For learning how to make pens.
And so it's always
he's like the godfather. He's the godfather of makers.
It's always an absolute joy to get to sit down with Jonathan and talk pens.
Well, and it was my first experience seeing his work in person.
Yes.
Just phenomenal.
Oh,
Phenomenal pours.
we haven't talked about the best part, which was, it popped in my head because Jonathan was talking about when his daughter, who was selling pens next to him, used to be sitting under the table and grab people's legs as they walked past.
Yeah.
Little which has taken me to the 2 separate times I sat behind Annabelle's chair
on the floor behind. Yeah.
I
was having my nib tweaked by Annabelle.
Yeah, I had my moments where I was just done and overwhelmed. And it was at a time that I could not go upstairs. Like, stuff was going on. I couldn't disappear from the show floor. I needed to be available if people actually genuinely needed me.
Yeah.
And so 2 separate times I ended up sitting behind Annabelle's chair.
It was fine. It was fine. Like a little quiet spot.
It was.
It
At one point, she told people they weren't allowed to talk to me because I was
her food gremlin.
Her food gremlin.
Annabelle couldn't stop to eat, and so people had to feed her as she worked on people's pens. It was really something.
Yeah. Shannon wants to know if we miss her.
We miss her terribly.
Honestly, it's a weird switch going back from like seeing everyone every day.
Yes.
To not seeing people and knowing like it's going to be a huge stretch before I see people in person again.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we could see Shannon. Shannon could come up for a visit, or we could meet her halfway.
She's not that far.
She is in Southern Ontario.
She is in Southern Ontario.
It's just a bit of a distance.
I don't know if Annabelle ever ate the banana that was left for her.
I sincerely
doubt it. Because she only ate stuff on Friday because I was sitting on the floor beside her chair and feeding her.
But you were feeding her freeze-dried raspberries from Trader Joe's, so she was eating healthy things. There is something I do want to, so there were 2 things that I talked about in the 20 questions interviews that I wanted. I did get to try a Bohème from Claire Coco. An absolutely stunning pen, and I have to say it has the much better grip size for me. Nothing like having the opportunity to test drive a really expensive pen.
Yeah.
But I did really enjoy. Claire gave me a little tour of some special pens that she has, and that was really lovely.
Yeah.
I tried one or two David Oscarsons of Claire's, and the Mont Blanc Bohème. She showed me she has beautiful elephant pens. So that was on my list of things that I wanted to try. And I also, you asked me what pen I really wanted to see in person, and I said it was a pen I didn't think existed. It's the Visconti backgammon pen. And then somebody in comments of 20 questions said, no, Visconti actually did make a backgammon pen. And I was like, oh.
So I texted Mark Sloan.
So Alexandra texted Mark Sloan, and he brought the chess pen, but no pieces. And there's a wonderful reseller.
But he also brought the backgammon pen.
No, Jimmy at the far end had the backgammon pen.
Oh, Jimmy had the backgammon pen.
Jimmy, whose handle I can't remember, is a delightful, delightful human, had all these extraordinary vintage pens. And one of them was the backgammon pen. And I have to say, I couldn't have been more disappointed. I thought, in my mind, I was expecting the backgammon pen to be the chess pen. I wanted the board in the round with pieces that you could actually play backgammon on the pen. That's what I wanted. Yes. That's what I envisioned. And I thought it would have been so amazing. And in my mind, it still is amazing, but it's not what Visconti made. Visconti, I took lots of pictures of it. It's a pen with red and black chevrons. I think it's twisted slightly. And there's the bedding die in full size. There's this big chunky betting die stuck to the top of the lid. It did come with the containers for rolling your die and a rolled up leather backgammon set.
Yeah.
It was, all the pieces came with it, but it's not what I wanted. I want a pen that you can actually play backgammon on. So I was disappointed, but I got to see it. So that was pretty cool.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and there was something else in my head, but I can't remember.
Was it? There was something you came over to me and went, if I win a lottery, I'm buying that.
Oh, Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
I loved the Elizabeth Taylor Mont Blanc.
Also
so pretty.
Jimmy.
Also Jimmy. Oh, but then on the when the show was ending, everything had wrapped up in the ballroom that we needed to be doing. Oh, she's got the yawns. Alexandra was at the Heinz table having a conversation. And there was a woman named Liz who came to help, flew in from California to help out with the Heinz table. And her father, Jim, also a Jimmy, he and I were just standing, at the far end of the table, and he had been talking to Francisco and was zipping up a pen case. And I said, "Oh, can I see your pens?" Nothing else was going on. And he zipped up the brown case and set it aside and said, "Well, we're going to start with this one." And he grabbed this black pen case, unzipped it, and opened it. And Francisco said, "That's about $250,000 right there." And I think he was only talking about one half of the case. One half was all Mont Blancs, and the other half was all St. Dupont. So I got to see these extraordinary pens. I was allowed to touch them. He pulled out the 100th anniversary Mont Blanc with the diamond that's in the finial.
I was kept as collateral.
I asked if I could photograph it, and I wanted to photograph it under natural light, which meant I had to walk 10 feet away from the table to do it. And they said, "We're keeping your daughter as collateral."
I informed Francisco I was not worth that as much as the pen was, unless he was talking about medical bills.
Yeah. And then Jimmy said to his daughter, "Pass me the rickshaw. Pass me the rickshaw. I want to show her that one." And he pulled out the Queen Victoria Mont Blanc.
Out of a rickshaw.
Out of a rickshaw.
Like necklace pen sleeve.
It was crazy. And you photographed that.
I did.
I want to see your pictures. And it's ostentatious.
Yes.
Would be the best way to describe it. It is thoroughly ostentatious.
I would say, though, I've had to link it so many times for 20 questions. I've gotten to look at so many other people's pictures of it that finally getting to sit down and take my own pictures of it and look at it was such a surreal experience, because it has become one of those pens that I just thought I'm never going to see it in person. I'm just never going to see it. And then all of a sudden,
it comes out of a rickshaw.
Jim, Francisco, and I are talking pens, and you're like, "No, you need to come see this." And you're holding
the Queen Victoria.
The Queen Victoria. And I'm like, okay, what the actual hell?
All you have to do is ask. People love to show off their pens. Oh, speaking of showing off their pens, I met the most delightful teacher from the Chicago area named Tina. I sat beside her at the Scotch tasting, and she has a stunning collection of purple pens.
She does.
And had them all laid out. They just kept opening things and putting out pens. And I said, "Oh, they're great. Are they inked up?" And of course they were. And I said, "I didn't bring any paper with me." And she's a teacher. She pulled out a notebook. And so I took all my notes about the various scotches while testing out all her various purple pens. Write the name of the pen, what the nib is, and then the details about the scotch. So what I loved was people's generosity.
Yes.
For the most part, there's some in every crowd that,
yes,
are standoffish, but for the most part, people were incredibly generous.
Yeah. And it was I would say I got a lot less time to try stuff this year, but I got to do a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And last year I spent a lot of time trying stuff.
Well,
and this year you got time to try stuff that we talk about all the time.
Yeah. I treated it like pen kindergarten.
Yes.
Where, because I haven't seen Maki-E pens in person. I haven't seen Urushi pens in person. I knew that
we don't even see King of Pens, like Sailor King of Pens in person. Like they're so uncommon to see these days that like the fact that we were able to have them at Atlas and selling them was.
Yeah. So, and the number of makers that are doing really innovative work.
Yes.
That was really cool.
Yes.
Innovative materials. They're all artists.
They are.
It's like they're artists and they're engineers, and they're figuring out how to work with different materials to create fountain pens. The fact that there are makers who are saying, oh, well, when I have the money, when I have the opportunity, I'm going to go buy so-and-so's work. That the support within the community, that it's
and we saw a lot of makers pulling other makers' pens out of rickshaws.
Yeah.
I would say that the person I heard the most talk about was by far Ian's pens from Sean Designs.
Oh, the tall guy.
Yeah. With the metal pens.
With the metal pens, yeah.
That was a big talk in the makers.
And he has really innovative nib designs.
He does.
Like his nibs were.
Lots of people were talking about the Monarchs.
Yeah. I'd never seen, well, I'm new at this, but his nibs are completely innovative.
Yes. And I like that he has a Monarch at the show that like is still connected to the bar, and so you can see like how it becomes a nib.
Are they turned? Somewhat. Or are they?
I think they mostly use CNC, but I might be wrong.
Okay. They were amazing. And beautiful.
And he's got great social media on it.
I'll have to follow him and have a look.
He's got some great stuff. But genuinely, like there were really no bad conversations with people this weekend, but I always adore getting to talk with anyone that's a maker.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of that this weekend.
Yeah. No, it was really good. And great to see the Nibmeisters at work.
Oh, yeah.
And
there will be an entire episode just on the nib work I got done.
Yeah.
Because things happened.
Oh, and now I have a better understanding of architect nibs, and I'm back to thinking the Fude is stupid.
Yeah.
Yay. I tried both. Now I have a much better understanding of the architect nibs, and I tried a Fude and went, no.
Yeah, no.
So at least I'm consistent.
Other than the fact that you've hated my architect for like a year and a half, you're consistent.
Yeah, but I hate your architect. I could actually have an architect made for the way I write.
You could.
And I used an architect nib that worked for my hand. And now I understand.
Yes. Annabelle is a wizard at nibs. And my custom ground architect from Annabelle, which I did get on the Pilot Decimo. I ended up showing,
which the pilot people were really excited about. They were enthusiastic.
The pilot people actually came and tried out my pen.
Yeah.
And Jacqueline was going to get an appointment with Annabelle next time they were both at the same show, so she could get it done to one of her Pilot Decimos. Yeah. Because it's really cool. It takes what is already a great pen and just like knocks it up a level. And it's so much fun. I've been using it for all my notes for the past couple days. And I love it so much that I haven't even taken the ink out of it that Annabelle put into it. And Annabelle just put a Diamond blue ink in it, which is never my normal pick for an ink.
No, but that's the standard ink. That's
It
the
is.
standard ink that she
It is.
uses for her nib work.
But normally by now I would have like cleaned out a pen and stuff. But the thought of like having to let the pen dry before I refill it, I'm
No.
like, no, we're running this dry and then I'll put something new in it.
Yeah. No, and actually Annabelle's tester,
Yes.
her tester architect nib, wrote beautifully.
No. And I would say that I did my architects in the right order. I got multiple architects this show. I did my Annabelle one first, and then I handed over my Annabelle architect
to Kirk
for my other architect and went, replicate this, please. And he did.
Yeah. Plus, that was Saturday morning, and you didn't have time to sit there and test.
No.
And these nibmeisters are so excellent.
Yes,
at what they do that you can drop and go.
I will also say, yeah, and I did at one point drop pens with Matthew. Mrs. Chen brought them back to me, and
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to test them. And as I was paying, Matthew went, okay, I know you trust me, but like actually make sure they're okay. And there was one thing I wanted tweaked a little bit. I would say the biggest change I did at this show was having a problem child pen case.
Yes.
There were things I was taking down that I knew had issues that needed to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dedicated case.
Yeah.
That those things went in. As things got fixed, they came out of this case.
And other stuff
went in. As things needed nib grinds, they went in this case. And this case would just be handed over to a nib grinder. And I'd say, I'll pick it up or bring it back to me when you're done. And that, in a way, made my life really easy because it meant my pens had a home when I was dropping them off with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And their home was a case that I know what it looks like. This is the case that I use daily. But having a problem child pen case this time definitely made a difference.
At some point, it was in each nibmeister's hands.
Yeah, it floated through everyone's hands this weekend.
Yep. No, that worked really well.
Yeah, because it also meant like when I opened a pen and it was missing a converter, it went in the problem child pen case. The next morning, I went back to the brand and I went, all I need is a converter, but I knew exactly what pen it was because it was in the problem child pen case.
Yeah.
So this made my life super easy.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else.
Yeah, I am too. The hotel was so much nicer this year. The hotel breakfast was so much nicer this year. It was a much better space this year.
The hotel was lovely.
The hotel
was in
a
lovely neighborhood. People were complaining about the Canada geese. There was a thriving population of Canada geese, and in my head I thought, 51st state geese. Just being snarky. And for people who don't know, we call them Canadian cobras.
Yes.
Because they're territorial and really mean. So I actually loved the Canada geese that were flying past the window honking every morning and that were populating the hotel pond. And I'm quite sure it's like a water control thing that they have going on to prevent flooding. But the Canada geese were really happy.
We're really happy. And then honestly, it was such a nicer location compared to last year. There was so much natural light and everything but the ballroom.
Yeah.
It was so dark previously.
Well, the atrium was a glass ceiling.
So nice and bright. Really, my only issue was the coffee. And the fact they took away the coffee too early.
And the weather, it was really chilly.
Yeah, it was
not
really
Chicago's fault, but boy, it was nippy.
It was cold, it was wet.
We had one day of sunshine.
I'd say we had the same issue with coffee last year, though. Like, the whole reason I brought a container of instant coffee this year was because the coffee was not good at last year's hotel. And so I packed a container of instant coffee, which then solved them removing the coffee pot really early.
Before people ask, Nescafe Gold. It's excellent.
Dark roast, specifically.
Dark roast, yeah.
All of the others are gross. Nescafe Gold Dark Roast, though, is the one to buy. And so
I think we'll always travel with that.
Yeah, I think we'll always travel with a container of instant coffee. I also had Gatorade packets that I could just add to a water bottle.
Yep.
The little ones, the single serve Gatorade packets. I think that really helped, especially on Saturday, where I had not been drinking enough water in the previous days and was not feeling particularly great.
Yeah.
On Saturday, I alternated between water and Gatorade all afternoon.
It was interesting. There are Know Before You Go YouTube things for pen shows.
Yeah.
And I had watched, you'd sent me some, and I had watched a couple of them. And,
yeah.
But they all say comfortable shoes, water.
Yeah.
And have a list. And they're right.
Yes.
Go figure.
I would say the only thing I really didn't use was my loop that I packed.
Your loop?
For looking at nibs.
Oh. Little magnifying glass.
Little magnifying glass thing. The only thing we used my loop for was for a UV light at Heinz.
Yeah, they have.
No,
oh,
a UV light at Heinz was what it was used for.
Not allowed to talk about.
But also, once again this year, the cash ran out very early.
Oh, I've got a picture of the cash machine on Friday. So the show opened Thursday.
We got cash Wednesday.
Yeah, we got cash, American cash, as soon as we got there. And Friday, it was taped off. The cash machine was out of cash and it wasn't topped up for the rest of the weekend.
No. This was the same issue that happened last year. It actually ran out, I believe, earlier this year. I think it lasted until part of Saturday last year.
No, it was out by Friday.
But it was out by Friday this year. Because, as always, cash at a pen show is king. And lots of the vintage vendors only accept cash.
Yeah.
And I would say that the cash discount everywhere else was still in full effect. Yeah. Cash was very important.
Yeah, so we had taken cash from here, but then
got
more cash when we were down there.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Is there anything else?
I don't know. I think we've covered pretty much everything. There's going to be a lot of separate pen videos. There's going to be a lot of 20 questions episodes.
A lot of ink swatching.
A lot of ink swatching. I don't know that I bought enough swatch cards, so that'll be interesting. Might have to get Nelmar to make me an order. But it was good.
For me, it was a great introduction to the larger pen community.
Yes. For me, it was just nice to see everyone again.
Yeah, but I mean, a year ago I was in Paris.
France. Yeah.
So I wasn't there.
Some of them I haven't seen since last year in Chicago, and some that I haven't seen since the sidewalk sale. So it was good to see everyone again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this is where we're going to end our Chicago Pen Show Q&A recap and chat video. I hope you enjoyed. If you've got any more questions, feel free to leave them down below. And at some point,
we'll go through
comments.
Answer questions.
I can't promise that it'll be anytime soon, but it will happen.
Well, we try and do it once a week.
It's been like 2.5 weeks since we were in Chicago.
We've been busy.
Yeah. At some point, we'll get back to comments.
It'll happen.
Thanks for watching.